Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work.
Fall in.
What's good? What's good? What's good? Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey, the commish. You got the People's Coast. We in the building. Y'all know what it is. First Formation Morning Sports Talk. As we continue to book in your week with the sports, the rhetoric, and all that. What's good, Cornelius? What's going on, CC? How you doing this morning, brother?
It's going all right. Wendy took it to chat last night.
We definitely
It
going
was
to
like I'm rookie of the year.
It was that was one of the conversations that we spoke about. Was wondering like when was this talking about the rookies, and so we definitely going to get into all that when we look at it. So as we know, March Madness is popping off, is coming up, is on its way. So we starting to get down to the last couple of games in the regular season before we actually get into the conference championships, which of course we know the winner of the said conference championship ends up automatic bid to the big dance, and then of course the at-larges are added in there. But in one particular, when we talk about college, the women's, the hot story is Caitlin Clark, as we discussed and talked about, is deciding to declare for the NBA draft for next season. So of course she won't finish. I don't think she's a senior. I think she's a junior. So she won't finish out her last year in college at Iowa. So she has one opportunity to walk away victorious with a natty in her resume. So one thing I thought about, so I know you hear a lot because you're still in or around that area, is do you think Caitlin Clark is bouncing because she realized like it's going to be too hard? She's probably not going to win a championship when you take in consideration they did battle out last year with LSU, in which she was not able to pull it off, and the team, South Carolina's team, is pretty dominant at this point. Currently going on undefeated since last year, minus the championship games, or I should say a 31. I think a 30 over 30 is a 31 game win streak, including last year. The USC team is looking good. Stanford looking good. There's a bunch of teams out there. Do you think that she's just like, you know what? I've done all I can do at this point and decided to, like, I'm out of here. Peace. See you.
No, I think it's a business move. Um, I think when you say you're not gonna enter the draft, people come calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should enter the draft, and you should, because we'll endorse this, we'll endorse that. You know what I'm saying? I think the endorsements are enticing for the WNBA for a player like Caitlin Clark. I think the WNBA needs this new draft to come in. I think it's going to change some things. May even change pay structures in the WNBA with all the talent that's coming in. We may see some of the biggest signings that you've seen in a while. I mean, that you ever seen in the WNBA. It might be history making. I think Taylor Clark got to be a part of that. If she's not a part of that, then things don't change for the WNBA. Um, because all eyes, whether we like to admit it or not, I know it's a lot of good players out there. You just mentioned a lot of good teams, but she the headliner. She's, she packing the building. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they coming to see her play. Like, she's selling out tickets. I think if you bring that to the WNBA, you're gonna boost a lot of your ticket sales in a lot of areas when Caitlin Clark plays. So I think that's what it's all about. I don't think it had nothing to do with winning in college, because college allows you to be the most individual, because you entering the draft, not your whole team. You know what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
I know she would like to win a national championship, but we know it ain't gonna happen with Iowa. We saw the rest of her team play. They not-
Unfortunate, yeah. So when you look at it, it's a couple of top freshmen. When we talk about NCAA, not freshmen, but top players. Of course, as we stated, Caitlin Clark is up there. You know, what I'm saying, pay for admission type player. When you look at it, and she is, she is a senior going in next year. But you're going to touch on some of what you just said. Additionally, of course, you got two um, from the Pac-12 that are top tier players that have been talked about. Of course, you know the freshman phenom Juju Watkins at Cal. You got Cameron Brink at Stanford, who she's a senior. She's doing work. Actually, she had a pretty good game last night. Someone who has been forgotten, but you know what I'm saying, was a buck. It came in as a walking button. She's currently a junior. I wonder will she end up going professional, going pro after this year. Paige Beckers out of UConn. So that was another name that we hadn't heard or spoke about. Then you got Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame. They had a pretty good game last night. Elizabeth Kitley out of Virginia Tech. Georgia Moore out of another player out of Virginia Tech. Another running mate with Beckers is Aaliyah Edwards in UConn. Lauren Betts out of UCLA, who is a top tier team, currently sitting at projected as a number 1 seed overall in the tournament. Camille Cordoso from the Gamecocks. Of course, Angel Reese can't be dismissed. Alyssa Pilley from Utah. So there's a lot of names out there potentially that's in the next couple of years that's going to, like as you just stated, are going to be in the WNBA for the most part, to where it comes down to those are names in which even one they're going to be paid for, that people are going to want to see, in which more of the younger crowd is probably going to be as they continue to try to bridge the gap between the men's and women's game as far as viewership. These could be the names that bring them in, which means at some point they're going to have to start paying these young ladies based to the fact, and that's where they want to get at in state. Like it's always been talked about that the viewership is down, so it's hard to sit up and to give that. But when they start paying, when they start bringing in the viewership, that's going to be more of a opportunity. However, is going to come at a later point due to the fact that they already have the CBA in place, and they're going to have them the viewer media rights are going to already be in place, and it's probably going to have to wait after that to sit up and to garner, to pull off that. But as you stated, I believe it's coming, especially with some of those names that you talk about. It's just the game repeats itself. How Biggie say, my game just rewind. That's what it's looking like it's going to come there. Remember the Lisa Leslie's, Tamika Holds Claus, and all those names in which we had all the Tennessee players that were dominant back then, and with the Simone Augustus, the LSU players, like these players, it seems like we're going to get another injection of that type of play, and it's going to be front and center. So it should pull out some crowds, especially now that some of these players are going to potentially be, it's only X amount of teams. So there's a good chance that some of these players are going to end up on some of the teams playing with one another, and which is going to give so much more to this game, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, better teams. Better teams means better. It's better for everybody. Better players, better teams. No disrespect to the players that's already been playing. I'm not saying they can't play. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? The ones that's coming in, they bringing a lot of fanfare with them. We saw last year the finals. I think they final 2 games or whatever. The viewership was up. I know attendance was definitely up in the building. So good things to come for the WNBA, and it's a good move that you have so much talent in college. Actually, most of the talk's been the women college players, right? Like,
I
like who
I,
coming
I
out?
admit of course, I agree. What's good, Jay? What's going on with you this morning, fam? Glad to have information with us. Glad to see you agrees with the conversation, which it comes to women's. I hope you know, saying you out there in the DMV area, Virginia, DMV area, Maryland. I hope you out there catching some of those games. You not too far from the who was that? Well, that's Liberty. I think is it the Go-Go? I can't remember. I'm very sure you got some games around that. So be sure if y'all in the areas where you got these women at, or even the college game, pull up, check them out. You probably won't be disappointed. That's been the matter of fact. It's been the women that have been dropping the quadruple doubles. We just talked about that the other day, and it's been 2 of them dropped since last week. So hey, the women's game.
I mean, you talk about speaking into existence, right? like it's a lot of things. So um, on the men college side, March Madness should be pretty good. Go, I'm like not really that hometown is type, but Houston Cougars do your thing this year. Win it all this year. UConn gonna be right there though. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if UConn won it, but I'm liking Houston taking over the number one spot at least for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Getting back up there.
go, don't fall short this year. Last year, Houston was taken out by injuries. This year, let's not get taken out by injuries. Hopefully, and let's show them what we got.
And you know what? So of course they're looking like I think the top ones, of course, UConn. I think Houston's going to be able to garner a number one seed. Purdue
Hmm.
and I'm not sure who the other one might go to, but I mean it's what we're seeing. Of course, now there's no undefeated team, of course, so that means everyone is saying beatable. Worst case like that, we just saw the other night where the LSU team knocked off a top ranked a Kentucky team. We've seen Crichton knock off UConn the other day, a couple of days ago. And I think today or tomorrow play against West Virginia. I mean, not West Virginia, against Marquette. So that's about to go down. So it's out there. They're out there. So you were right. This should probably be a pretty good year for college basketball. Of course, I'm looking forward to next year because next year they're going to be in San Antonio. So I might get the opportunity to go check some of those games out, or depending, that's a whole year. We never know what'll happen. So definitely looking good. But Houston, do you think Houston can finally slay that dragon after they've climbed the ladder to put themselves in position? Got to what was it, the Final Four last year, or or the Elite Eight, one of the two,
Yeah, the last
and
couple of years they've been tough, right?
yeah, and fall off. You know what I'm saying? And I was working because I volunteered, did some work with the NCAA last year. I'm not last year, that year, in Houston, to where I was like, oh, this should be easy. This should be a Houston, it's gonna be lit, you know what I'm saying? And then come to look up, you blink, and the Cougars aren't there. But I mean, that's a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? You win some, you lose some. So it's just a matter. But do you really think, outside of bias for your hometown, that finally the Cougars are in a good position? I mean, they've been there before years, but this particular time frame, you think they can pull it off? They have what it takes. They have enough.
Oh yeah, I think they had. I thought they had enough last year if it wasn't for injuries to keep people.
Hmm.
So I think this year they come back and they try to finish, finish unfinished business. For real.
So you think they're better? You think they're a better squad without Sasser, who was their veteran leader?
Yeah, I think it allows everybody else to play. Like when you see them play, very unselfish play. Not depending on one person. It's hard to stop that when everybody can score, right? So I think that's gonna play heavily in their favor when you get into those games where buckets are minimal. Like it's a tournament, and sometimes teams don't shoot all that well, no matter how good they pass the rock. So I think Houston they got an advantage because they can put the ball in the bucket many different ways.
So we know NBA is what's prevalent right now, but I want to get into a conversation about this NFL pigskin real quick. So of course, a lot has came out in the last couple of days. They talked about the competition committee has looked at doing a couple of things to change um, the outlook or how games are played and stuff. Of course, we have the combines going on yesterday. Defensive end, defensive tackles, edge rushers. I mean edges, tackles, linebackers were on center stage as they went out and competed and did their events. Was there anything that stood out to you? I know I've seen a report that the Dallas Cowboys are looking to beef up their defensive side of the ball. You being a Dallas Cowboy fan, do you agree with that, or do you think they're looking in the wrong places at this point?
I think um I think defense is the way to go for us. We definitely um need if not D line, we need secondary. Um, Gilmore is a free agent again, But the Chop Robinson, I think he was said. I think I saw something that he an edge rusher and he ran like a 4.48 or something.
Hmm.
So that got his speed got wild reviews or whatever, but rave reviews or whatever. But at the same time, um, yeah, for Dallas, we always looking to improve the defense. You can never go wrong at having enough D linemen that can get after the quarterback, stop runs and stuff like that. Um, and like I said, without Gilmore, if we don't re-sign Gilmore, what we gonna do in our secondary? We gonna put Bland on one side, but we also risking losing Jordan Lewis. You know what I mean? And he been pretty solid for us the last few years. So um, maybe we sign one of them. Maybe we can keep both, but I doubt it.
So I know some of the behind the beefing up the Cowboys defense is due to Zimmerman's scheme. What scheme is he running? Do you know what scheme is he going to run? Hasn't been conversation.
No, but typically we talking Zimmerman in the past is around the 4-3, right?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, the 4-3. So I look at it like we need linebackers too. Can't forget that. Vander Esch career probably over with the
Hmm.
neck injuries, unfortunately. So we need linebackers. Um, maybe we get them through free agency. Maybe we get a linebacker through the draft. But I'm leaning towards maybe we look at linebacker free agency. Maybe we look at in the draft. Add to that D line. Like you got to understand, in our drafts, we Michael Parsons. What was his name? We still the verdict still out on Mozzie Smith from last year or whatever.
Hmm.
Mozzie. Um, but add another piece because you look at it, D. Lawrence and them dudes, they are getting long in the tooth, so to speak. Even though D. Lawrence, I think he's a good player, but like I said, nowadays the rotations of the defensive lines and stuff seem to be helping. We saw that work with Philly. We saw it work with the 49ers. The 49ers had a plethora of D linemen this season. We saw what it leads to. So yeah, we need to do something on that defense. Um, can't be giving up 48 points at home. We're not gonna put all that on the defense. I'm just saying.
So you know what? You give bring up a good point because I was about to ask where y'all draft at, but it really doesn't matter because y'all were a playoff team. So in the scheme of things, especially when you're looking at building or trying to get better and needing to, do you think it's more of an advantage to be in the late rounds where the value is a little less, which means you pay less for players, and and having a excellent recruiting team and recruiting division in your organization, or would you rather be in the upper tier of the draft and looking at a picking up some of the top players that are expected to be contributors in the league as they come in?
um, I think it's I think the I think the first round is overrated sometimes because we see a lot of the good players coming out of the second round.
Okay.
A lot of the good position players coming out of the second round and stuff like that. Even some of your better quarterbacks and stuff in the second round, right? Like not in the first. Like sometimes the first round is a miss, like total miss. I think um, the pressure is different when when you start talking first round picks. The first 30, 132 picks is kind of tough, right? But second round, you pretty much sure, and you pretty much sure of what you're getting, and it might be some room for development. So second round is always seem a wow, right? When they play good right out the gate, because you say wow, you know what I mean? I mean, when you look at it, where did Brock Purdy come from? Where did what position? Where did the Josh Allen's, the Mahomes, and all of them come from? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They weren't. Uh, picked very high, but you see where their careers take them. So it's like when you look at it, um, I would actually like if I was a GM, my first round picks would probably be O linemen and D linemen,
Really?
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, because you see the trend. All these name one besides CJ Stroud being picked. He was second overall, by the way. You know what I'm saying? But him being picked second. Will Anderson being picked third. They was both rookies of the year. We saw that with the Jets before. I forgot which order Wilson was in and Gardner was in or whatever. But I'm just saying, when you start to look at things, where do the picks really come from? Where the
Hmm.
ones that's making championship impact coming from?
And then
You know,
not to forget, honestly, um, what's the Jets running back? He was looking at being the offensive rookie of the year initially, and then
Brees Hall.
yeah, Brees Hall, you know what I'm saying? And then he ended up because of his injury and falling off, but Garrett picked up where he left off at, and then you know what I'm saying. But Sauce Gardner was their number one pick out of Cincinnati that year, and then Garrett I think was the 17th pick. And I think Brees Hall was a second round pick, honestly, I think, or something like
Right.
that. So you know what I'm saying. But I mean, in state, honestly, you had 3 rookie of the years candidates, and 2 of them walked away in that case. And then the following year, of course, Houston walks away with both honors. So is that starting to be? You just said trends. I wonder is that starting to be a trend? But I do agree with you. With it, kind of like it's just. I think it's more based upon your what your needs are and where you're at. Like I guess for like a team like say for the 49ers that have been of late have been in those late rounds or haven't had any first round picks because they've traded to get the players to put them in those later rounds that you get used to or you start to build you kind of live in the mindset of you got to be your recruiting team has to be top notch and have to do the due diligence to make sure that they get you all the reports and get you to and put you set you up for success when you're evaluating these people or when you evaluating these players in the third in the second third fourth rounds of course, and then even deeper to when you start looking and catching players late in the late rounds, like we all know, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant a couple of years ago. Now he was just 2 games. First year he played conference championship. Second year Super Bowl, Super Bowl quarterback. Now he's like now that starts to wonder like okay what is San Francisco over there doing that they put themselves in this or is it just luck they just happen that way because we got to take in consideration this is the same San Francisco 49ers that drafted Trey Lance.
But
So
but you know the draft is a hit. That's what I'm saying. The draft is a hit or miss. And when you go in with those high picks, that's my point. When you go with those high picks, you never know what you're gonna get. Right? I think is more consistent. Well, we watched New England. We watched them for years build championship teams and go on championship runs. Uh, drafted basically being almost last every year drafting, right? Because of their positions. So never really drafting real high, never really having a top 10, top 15, top 20 pick. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? We watched them build a dynasty pretty much that way with players that you never even heard of. Who heard of Teddy Bruschi before he put on a New England Patriot? I'm
yeah,
just saying, like, like who heard of some of these players, right? When you start to look at it, we didn't know Aaron Hernandez was gonna be as good as he was. We never heard of him. Let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? We had never heard
he
of
was
him,
a
right?
monster.
Gronkowski. Who
Unfortunately,
heard of Gronkowski before he hit?
yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? Same thing with the Watt brothers and stuff like that. J.J. Watt, like he was really good. T.J. Watt is really good. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times the big marquee players are the ones where we like, where your game at? You know what I mean? Like where your game at right now? You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Like, so that's what I started to look at. Like, look at where Minnesota when they replaced Diggs, like a year or two later they get Justin Jefferson. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, where did Justin Jefferson come from? Like, I mean, for real, when you talk about it, you look at these mock drafts and stuff, and you see some of the names. You like, okay, but we know when teams pick, like you said, teams pick by their needs and stuff. But having a high projection don't mean that you got a high ceiling when it comes to putting on them pads and when it comes to get out there and learning the game.
correct.
That's why I think in college, the ones that are thriving to me in the draft, second early second round to the fourth round, maybe even fifth round. Sometimes they stun you. But what's up with the picks in the first round? They ain't really living up. A lot of them ain't living up to the bill because a lot of them, I swear, we heard a lot of names like Puka Nakua. Where did he come from? like
I
You know,
guess he
other
was like a
people would
third round
project it
play,
to
a
be
third
better
round
than
pick. Yeah, he
him.
was a
You
third
know,
round pick. So it definitely that was good. AJ, what's going on? Glad to have you information this morning. Good morning. Good morning. So it's definitely like you said. Wow. So I mean, it's a draft. You know, what I'm saying you have those that you expect. Like, I'll be honest. In my opinion, I don't know how Caleb Williams is going to do as a quarterback in the league. So take in consideration, he wasn't like we always talk about USC quarterbacks are like you and Bishop will always talk that USC quarterbacks are trash, right? But it's a new dawn in USC. And although a lot of these quarterbacks have been through different players, you guys see probably of late, Sanchez was probably about the better. And when it came down to quarterbacks, and was he Pete Carroll or Ty Hilton? I can't remember. I think he was Ty Hilton's. But in any case, Mark Sanchez has probably been one of the better quarterbacks in recently out of the SC. Now here we are where we have Caleb Williams uh under a whole different coaching regime and Riley. So it's like is he better? We take in consideration Jalen Hurts, who left Alabama to go to Oklahoma and ended up being drafted as an Oklahoma quarterback from the same, you know, saying from the same coach and the coaching staff. So is it a possibility for Caleb to be better? Maybe so. You got even another person who was in that same regime in Rattler, who's also in this draft class. And then on the flip side of it, you have another former USC quarterback that went to BYU in Keaton Slovis, who's in this draft class. And so you're going to see, you know, saying in state like what their grades are going to say, and if they get drafted, how they end up doing that. Although they were somewhere else after the fact, but you know, what I'm saying. But when I look at it, I don't know how Caleb is going to fare, and which is unfortunate because if he goes in, and if Chicago was to draft Caleb Williams, the writing on the wall is that they're going to probably move Justin Fields for some capital. Although I would be more interested in them keeping Justin Fields and seeing how he continues to do with some heat behind him. And then potentially Caleb Williams going back to what it should be, the quarterback, a drafted quarterback being put in a position to where they can learn and not be thrown to the wolves, because everyone isn't going to be CJ Stroud. Everyone isn't going to be Pete Carroll. Appreciate MEB. So Pete Carroll. So yeah, so he was Pete Carroll. So, but you know what I'm saying, put him in. But I like just, even though the conversation is that seeing AJ, conversation is that one of the two teams that pushing the line to get a hold of Justin Fields is the Atlanta Falcons, as we talked about last week. So what Drunk said, Caleb Williams is usually not show up if they keep Fields. Caleb at quarterback, Fields at running back. Was Jungle. What up, Drunk? How you doing, bro? So
that's
you know,
insane. That's
yeah.
insane.
So it's like instinct, but you know, saying when you look at that, like it's so in my opinion, it's so many different ways Chicago could go with this. Like, you know, saying they could probably be because call me shrewd, call me, you know, saying whatever. But do I want to better a team really by sending them to like Justin Fields in Atlanta is going to be a problem, in my opinion.
Listen, Zach, you can't, but you can't like if you Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta try to Chicago. You struggling. You should be way better. You too big of a market to be as sorry as you are. Like so, you gotta make a big splash. So your decision gotta be based upon uh, how soon are we trying to be competitive? How soon are we trying to be in a championship conversation, make playoff run? Um, I think you gotta for me move Justin Fields. Just because you already tainted him. You already tainted him with with poor team around them, poor organizational skills. You already proved that you can take a winner and make them mediocre. We've seen that from Chicago time and time again. So If I'm Justin Fields, I don't even want to play for Chicago. I want out. I mean, I know you can't just come out and say that as a player, or when you're trying to get a better contract, or you're trying to see what's up out there. But if I'm Justin Fields, deep down inside, I know he don't. I know you can say all the right things in front of the mic, but he don't want to
You
be in Chicago.
everyone
Let's
says
just
I
say
want
it.
to stay here for the
Yeah,
most part. Everyone be like, I want to stay here.
yeah. The political stuff. Get past that and read the body language and stuff. Um, I just don't think. I mean, maybe Chicago can turn the corner, but I don't think with what they got in place right now, it's going to be better for Fields or better for Williams. Whatever they decide to do, the quarterback on the Chicago Bears, and you don't take a pounding out there. You're gonna be running
But
for your
see,
life.
but so it's like the game we were just talking about. Saying the game just rewind. If they take Caleb Williams, knowing what they did with knowing what came down to what happened with Justin Fields in the same type of environment, is it going to be the same with Caleb Williams? I mean, I get they have Brongy and Cliff Kingsbury, and he's going to be there potentially. He just was the offensive coordinating. He was an offensive coordinator, but he was a part of pass game and all that type of stuff at USC. Now you have Caleb Williams and stuff like that, Eberflus and all that type of stuff. But what was there initially with Justin Fields? Like, wasn't some of that? We understand some of it was Justin Fields. He holds the ball too long, which is teachable. We can get past that. But saying he didn't have weapons. Now they have DJ Moore. Kemet is all right. Mooney may be coming around. But is it wise to even put Justin if I'm Chicago, I'm staying with what I got. Like, I'm really staying with what I got. And I would even, like I said, if I'm willing to waste it because we got a first and a ninth, if I bring in a Caleb Williams and I can keep on the mystique that he's going to be fired, and even if he gets some burn or not, it's still the mystique that he was a Heisman Trophy winner and he's been sitting back and monitoring and watching, maybe get some insights here and there. That's bait. That's dangle bait to be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and move Caleb Williams because Justin Fields is fine now, and maybe move him on a year or two from now when he's had something underneath him. Because we could potentially, and it's unfortunate because I can say we can look at that Jordan Love type because Jordan Love sat back and waited. But then you put the situation on the onus on Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers. Caleb Williams sitting behind Justin Fields. You know what I'm saying? It isn't necessarily, and I think that's the unfortunate situation is Justin Fields is still learning and has went through some trials and tribulations in his position. So to have Caleb Williams as a Heisman Trophy winner sit behind him and watch and thinking to myself, like in state, let's just be keeping 100. Probably sitting behind us like I'm better than this dude. Like,
I mean, and that's what I was gonna get to. Remember Philly? Remember years ago, Philadelphia Eagles had that situation. It wasn't with draft picks, but it was with the quarterbacks, right? They had Donovan McNabb, and then they signed Michael Vick. Michael Vick was definitely better than Donovan McNabb at that particular point.
mm-hmm.
So Donovan McNabb was a huge advocate for Vick, bring him on the team. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if Donovan looked back and say, man, I I champion the cause to bring on my own replacement. You know what I'm saying? This guy's better than me. You couldn't have Vic sitting on the sideline, right? So you had to move McNabb um, in order to justify bringing in Vic, right? Like I think that's why if you Chicago, you got to get off one of them. And I don't like the way that how to a team struggling and a team sorry, Trey. When you listen to their GMs and their coaches talk sometimes. So listening to the GM, whatever his name is, Cole or whatever his name is for Chicago, talking about we want to solve this issue early, but still wasn't definitive to make a decision. Every other team, you ask them a question, right? What are you gonna do? I guarantee you they'll say, "This is my quarterback. This is our quarterback moving forward. This is what we're doing." Right? The Bears, they so on the fence. Are they trying to be so mysterious or whatever with what they doing? They confusing their darn selves. That's how you know it's gonna be. That's how you know it's gonna be a problem. Like it's gonna be a problem for them. So no matter what they do, the top structure not right for me. Because if I'm Caleb Williams, I stick to my guns and I say, hey, Chicago may not be the place for me. I may not go there, right? Like because he still may push the issue and say, I don't want to go to Chicago, and I don't blame him. I don't
and
blame
that's,
him because
go ahead,
go
no, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't blame him because when I saw the GM say, we're not sure which way we go. You know, we're gonna look at this situation. What else are you looking at? Either Justin Fields, either you've seen Justin Fields. Justin Fields been in your building. Either you feel like he got enough right now and he your quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It should be no debate. All I'm saying is that you go around the league uh, to the other teams. They ain't. Hey, this is my quarterback. You know what I mean? Period. This is who I'm riding with, and that's it. All that other stuff, you don't have to. If Justin Fields is the guy in Chicago, why the GM ain't saying it?
So,
Normally,
and
GMs and owners they have a different. You know what I'm saying? Coaches may feel different. Don't get me wrong, but GMs and owners they know who their guy is, right? They know who they want. You know what I'm saying? They know what they want to build around, right?
well, Polish, I think Polish. So I think Polish brung in. I mean, he was. I think Justin Field was there before he took over as GM, and so it could be a situation like you said, bringing in the guy in which they want to sit. That basically this guy is who they're staking their career on. Their job is on. Like, hey, I drafted or I brung in this guy. That's what it is. And I want to make a correction. I stand corrected. Appreciate you, AJ. Cliff Kingsbury it took over uh, Bieniemy's position in Washington D.C. So with the Commanders. So, but like you're saying, bringing in who you want and making it to where this is the guy that's going to basically make or break me, or I'm going to sit up and do it. And I'm saying based on what I believe my expertise is and my ability to evaluate and draft the right player. I don't know. Is that saying that that's not what Polis believes he has in Justin Fields? And you'll say, and then I was looking, I think about how we was just talking about and discussing, um, like Al was just talking about how he wouldn't be he would love to have uh he would love to have Justin Fields in Atlanta, right? And that's saying we look at it because we see Atlanta as a young team with some with what looks like they have plenty of weapons. Justin Fields will be at home, but in state it's a lot of carouseling going around when it comes to the quarterbacks. Is that stability in state? You know what I'm saying? Are we going to continue to roll the dice until we get the right fit pops up?
Chicago never name a solid quarterback that Chicago's had in like in my whole life. In my whole life, I'm
You
serious. In
don't
my
think Cutler was he took him to the
name a
Super
Chicago
Bowl?
bad quarterback. Jim McMahon, come on, man. Like dude completed like 49, 50% of his passes badly or whatever. Dude was, you know what I'm saying? He was just rugged. But what I'm saying is Chicago it hasn't been a place where they developed. Minnesota surpassed them in the quarterback game. Right? With the Bridgewater, and then after Bridgewater coming with the Kirk Cousins and stuff. I'm saying they upped their game, right? But their game
Yeah,
was up because they had the Cole Peppers. They had, I mean, you can name Minnesota quarterbacks
far.
outside of Jay Cutler. No disrespect to the Bears, but I'm saying you went to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. Come on, like I'm saying they ain't have uh no name brand quarterback ever. They ain't had nothing like brand new quarterback ever in my lifetime in Chicago. So what makes us think that that's gonna change now? You know what I'm saying? You see they up in flux right now. Do we keep Justin? Do we get rid of him? But I'm just saying, you look at
Drunk
you
does
look
not
at
like
other teams, right?
Fields. Drunk, you
You look at the
think
Cardinals.
Drunk? Hold on, real quick. Drunk, you think that that Justin Fields doesn't have any upside? Is that what you're saying? Go ahead, Slick. I'm listening. You said the Cardinals.
Look at the Cardinals. They came out and they said, regardless of what, Kyler Murray was hurt. They had a chance to make a move, do something else if they wanted to do something different, right? They got rid of coach, they got rid of GM. They made a lot of but they paid Kyler the money, right? The other regime paid Kyler the money. So the next regime, they like, hey,
Hey,
Kyler's our guy when he comes back from injury. He gonna
but
be our guy when
is he really
but
though? Based off what you
but
were
they
saying.
but I'm just saying they defined they said he is right.
Okay.
Like the organization said he is. That's what I'm saying. Like and Justin Fields can't get that kind of commitment from Chicago, I wouldn't even want to be there. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? They're not even talking about. As a matter of fact, your GM and your coaches, they're not even talking about your upside. All they talking about is what they made during the draft. They ain't saying that man Justin done put on for us, or Justin done did this for us, or nothing, or we see the skill level and he got this much potential. They ain't even saying that. You feel what I'm saying? Like they ain't giving the man no like. So when it comes to stuff like that, you might not be in the best position.
Just say he's a pee wee football player.
Nah, I wouldn't say he's a pee wee quarterback. I would say, but what is he working with? See, that's what I'm saying. Like we saw who don't think Bryce Young is better than the performance that he had this past season with the Panthers? If you got nothing around you, what are you supposed to do? You know, like what are how are you supposed to develop? Like is it Phil's fault that his awareness is a little off in the pros? Like those are things you can tweak in practice. Those are things you can tweak with film. Those are things you can tweak on the field. Do adjustments from coaching, from good coaching.
So,
Sometimes you
so,
gotta have all that.
so those who are out there, of course, the same thing to you. Good morning, more. I'm glad to have information with us. So, what do you believe is paramount, or what is the average time you think a quarterback should have to develop, whether they're getting repetitions in real games or not at this point? Like, what's that sweet spot? 3 4 years, 3 years, their first excuse me, their first contract. What is the development, especially for those who aren't touching the field? Like, is everyone out there like Jordan Love? Like Jordan Love very similarly touched the field, in which we thought he was just going to be a bust when he finally got his chance to spin, and he took his team to the playoffs, while the person who he replaced, although injured and didn't have an opportunity to play, sat at home. So what do you think is the sweet spot for a quarterback to be able to develop and be able to show their moxie, without being those few that are able to be successful right off the rip?
I think you got a three. I think you got a 3 to 4 year curve, right?
Okay.
Like in the old game, it was always about a 3 year rule, right? Like you bring a quarterback in and they sit behind 3 years unless they ready to start right away. Like
Uh-huh.
everybody not ready to start right away, and we know
Okay.
that. We know that everybody's not on the same level when it comes to skill level, when it comes to awareness, when it comes to being able to
You have to still
pick up the
develop.
game, you know, to pick up the game. So it varies from person to person, but typically it's about 3 years, right? Quarterbacks start coming into their own. Like normally, a lot of quarterbacks have like if they start their rookie year, they might have a decent rookie year, and then what they call the sophomore jinx. You know what I'm saying? Like that second year is a rough one for a lot of the young quarterbacks, right? Right. Um, I just think that like it's different levels. It's different levels of maturity. It's different whatever. Like take when Cam Newton came into the game, was he really ready to start? He was ready to start off the rip, but you saw that
He
he still
feels.
had some other things to develop within his game, right? So how long did it take Cam Newton to get to where he got to? How long did it take Mahomes sat almost his whole first year, right?
You got Alex Smith. Yeah.
So that means whether us as fans, we ain't know nothing about him whether he was ready or not, right? Until he got on the field and he started acting a fool. But
But he didn't sit behind a bad quarterback either. So I
no,
mean,
but my point is Kansas City felt like he wasn't ready to start right off the rip. Like they had him sitting.
true that. And so and it goes like Drunk was just saying, he's looking at 3 years. 3 years is a curve. And which he presumed, and obviously he's saying that it's not Fields, regardless. So I wonder, Drunk, say if Fields went somewhere else, do you think he can be better, or do you think he's just trash, or just not developed at all in any sense, and that he would need to go somewhere and sit behind a quarterback uh, to develop to be better and come back with a vengeance? Yeah, he said there's been zero progression in Fields since he's been drafted.
I don't know. I think it's been some progression. I think, like I said, I think he a way better passer. I think he showed this year that he a way better passer because you saw the passing at moments, right? The pinpoint accuracy at moments this year. I think, um, and the way that they started winning some games going down the stretch when he came back from his thumb injury or whatever injury he had, I think he started to see that he does have a little bit. of awareness, and he can lead a team to wins if you put some pieces around him. But everybody got to want to win. I think that you're on a team that's definitely um, playing for picks. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're on a team that's playing for picks and trying to build through the draft like that, um, yeah, it's kind of difficult to say if you could be successful or whatever. I think he gets a shot in Atlanta. I think he get a shot maybe in Washington somewhere. I think he's going to see a playoff version of Justin Fields that you never seen. It's how they say, winning cures all. And you get to an organization that wants to win, and they want to put something into you, then that's what you get, right? Like it's like it's like I'm not a huge car dude, right? But I've had buddies that like whatever, like certain cars they take care of, like their whole life depends on it, right? It's the same thing with players sometimes, as far as it's like, man, what are you putting into them? What are you putting around them? Or you know what I mean? It's like if you sick, don't you want the best doctors?
Hmm.
So if you playing ball, don't you want the like? So if you running an organization, don't you want the best staff? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Don't you want to try to have the best staff? Don't you want to try to put? You want to bring in somebody that can develop your quarterback, right? I mean, quarterbacks are the biggest investment, but why are certain teams not developing them? Look at the Jets. They blame everything on Wilson. They ain't said one way how they try to develop him. You know what I'm saying? The whole development stuff is missing. You know, I mean, for real, certain organizations it's just missing. But look at Miami. You don't think they developing Tua? You don't think they giving Tua every opportunity to be successful? Look at how far Tua has come. All I'm saying is the right place, the right moment, you'll be a better like Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields can be a way better quarterback than what he's shown in Chicago, and it's because of the environment.
You think it would have been better? I think we talked about this before. You think he would have been better had San Francisco drafted him as opposed to
They would have won
transact?
the Super Bowl already. I'm just they would have won the Super Bowl already. The 49ers would have a Super Bowl if they would have drafted Justin Fields. They would have a Super. No doubt in my mind, they would have the Super Bowl already.
Well, more to see and more to come. So, continuing the NFL is talking in reference. They are looking at tracking devices and different things in from the competition committee that are going to basically put a that's like comparing steaks and potatoes and potted meat. I know there's a little delay.
Oh, stop it! It's not like, but you see what my point is, drunk. My point is simple. Like, sure, they developing him. Justin Fields, who's developing? Who's developing Justin Fields?
True that. So I know he's gonna have another comment. It's just a little delay, but until he puts that comment out, the NFL has started testing out devices to kind of, in my sense, alleviate the chains on the field because they're going to be more. I think of something that's going to be a little more accurate in determining first downs and things of that nature, as well as where it's going to be. You still have the line judges and stuff like that, but it's going to go to a more of a technology that is going to be uh, forced to them via smart watches and things of that nature while they're watching. That gives them more of a direct. Do you think we're at that point now to where we're going to get more technology driven in the league, especially and start removing some of these positions on these additional support like referees and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's unfortunate too. I mean, the human elements are always good, and you could never go wrong with a, like a 10-yard chain, right? like I feel like, what are you gonna do when it's so close? I mean, it's already a judgment call on some of them calls, right? And sometimes the spotting of the ball. So it's like, I'm not in favor. I'm in favor of some moves. I told you before. I think that what you're looking at, sooner or later, they already got the technology to remove referees.
Mm-hmm.
All you need a ref to do is to state the call, right? like we can see for ourselves on the screen the holding calls. We can see the certain call. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? Whatever they choose to call, we can already see it a lot of times before it happens. You hear the commentators now. When I was coming up, the commentators, unless you was John Madden, not too many of them point out significant holds and all this other stuff like these. You know what I'm saying? Like now, it's like right when the flag is thrown, oh, holding on number such and such over here. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
game has come that far, and you have all this technology already. My thing is, why not use it in combination with what you already got to see how it works first before you just go all out. You know, I mean, before you just go all out with it.
So of course, what's good, Reese? You guys have information with the Salute fam. So you know what, drunk, in which we're gonna probably cover it a little later, but I agree. Like I was about to ask the question, how much onus do we start to put on the player when we talk about also developing in the as well as the organization? But and additionally, he said the NFL need that real quick, the AI ref. So I mean, it's like you said, different things. Without at least two questionable calls. It's coming. I mean, in which, like you were just saying, the human element can go either way in some instances. So they're definitely gonna continue to work it. I think the XFL is a part of that because they utilize things and they do things in the XFL that they take a look at. Excuse me, and see if they can transfer it over into the NFL. And then look how they can then utilize it in the NFL and see, and then use the opportunity to see if it works. In case in point, they're looking at the XFL's version of the kickoff because they say they need something to be more engaging for kickoffs. 20% of the kickoffs last season were not returns. 22% of the kickoffs wasn't returns last year, in which they want to get away from that. Of course, you know that XFL utilizes placing the ball at the 30-yard line and being kicked with the players lined up 5 yards from each other. And so that's going to be a different way. It does give a couple of different ways for onside kicks. That's something they're looking at. Something that they are no longer looking at is, or they're still trying to modify is the elimination of the tush push. So it hasn't been determined yet. It's still prevalent because they didn't ban it or say it can't be done. So that might continue to be our arsenal in the Philadelphia's offense because they are the most successful with it. Although other teams tend to try to use it, no one does it like Philly does. And then they're also trying to get rid of the hip drop tackle.
Pretty soon you ain't gonna be able to tackle it all. I mean, I don't envy the defenses in the NFL because of that, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't just run up and hit a guy anymore, man. You got to worry about where you hitting them. It's too much stuff to try to think about to play a game that's so ultra reactive, right? There's like you got to react in a millisecond, and you got to be on point. And so it's now you want it to make it a chess game, and too much thinking. Just too much thinking going into it, other than reactive. Some tackles are instinct, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm all for no hard collar tackle, but this hip drop tackle, like um, any tackle can be dangerous. I mean, so that's it's getting to a slippery slope where man, you starting to take all the fun out the game. Like pretty soon, you just have to let the runners run. You have to let the ball carriers just run and jump on their back when they pass by or something. I mean, I don't know how you go tackle. Like you got such minimal windows to tackle now, so. Um, I don't know NFL. How many more tackles you gonna eliminate? I think we saw what one or two people get hurt this past season from that tackle.
The hip drop, yeah. So now that they've done that and they're continuing on, let's kind of like transition into the player aspect of it. What is going on? I don't know where my skull people at. What is going on in Minnesota? They last year they get rid of Dalvin Cook in state. As we look at Dalvin Cook went from two teams and really didn't develop and do anything. But Dalvin Cook, they get rid of Dalvin Cook, replace him with Madison, and then this year they get rid of Madison. Like, what is going on? What do you think is the what is
Hey, hey, running back. Hey, running back to the NFL. You're not that popular no more. No one feels. No one feels that they need you to pay you outrageous money. So if you're a
certain
running back nowadays,
same teams,
huh?
certain teams?
Well, a lot of teams. Um, See what happens when Christian McCaffrey contract come up. You know what I'm saying?
Where
Whenever
is
that is.
he?
I mean, I'm just saying, just sit back and see what happens. You'll see that man, they got rid of most of. I mean, you talk about the 49ers, they got rid of a lot of running backs
Wilson,
through these
Moser,
cycles,
yeah,
through these championship runs
Raiders,
and stuff.
yeah.
Um, and so in the 4 years, the turnover is crazy, right? With the running backs and stuff. If you just take the 49ers alone, if you look at the Eagles, what do? They swapped out running backs. Look at the Cowboys. All these teams, running backs, you are just not as valuable as you once were. It's sad to say it, but it's the truth. Nobody, you ain't running for 2,000 yards. You, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, it's different now. They don't need, they need you to pass block every now and then, right? Your carries are down all across the board. Not too many running backs are coming in. Back in my day, they used to call them workhorses and stuff. Now they call them not those that carry the ball a little bit. They call them a bell cow. What is a bell cow? Like we ain't ringing no bells here. You know, I mean, I'm just saying. When you start to look at it, it's a different ball game for running backs. You're not that popular no more. Teams, I'm not gonna say they disrespect you, but they feel like they don't need you as much when they can replace you with the next one. You can go get another Madison in the second round of the draft, third round of the draft. I mean, and that's what teams are looking at, unfortunately. That's why you see Saquon Barkley. The Giants haven't made up their mind on him. You see what Jacobs for the Raiders. Raiders haven't made up their mind on him yet. I mean, you starting to
Supposedly,
see
you're
different.
looking at for Dallas.
Derrick Henry ain't Derrick Henry a free agent? King
Correct.
Henry's a free agent, which Tennessee saying they might not be done with him. They might want to try to work something out with him. But at the same time, that's three running backs right there. It's not the same. And we saw this coming years ago with the Le'Veon Bell situation, right? We saw the decline of the running back and how valuable we thought they were because he was cooking in Pittsburgh, right?
Hmm.
But then he decided to hold out, thought he was worth this or that. And it's like Pittsburgh, like, nah, you're not worth that. And he sat out a whole year. You know what I'm saying? He sat out a whole year. Who can afford to sit out a whole year without developing their skills and all this other stuff and playing and taking that contact? And he came back and he was trash. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just my opinion. He didn't come back with the same. You wanted all his money, but then you come back after 1 year and you can't prove that you're worth all that money.
So what I think is also has happened is these people which we talk about have come back, and they're the one that had put that stain on. Like you just said, Le'Veon Bell. Once he never got his money. Ezekiel Elliott, he got his money, and he started declining at some point. He, you know, what I'm saying he was a banger, a
No,
bruiser between the tackles.
the Cowboys got the Cowboys got 5.5 good years out of Ezekiel Elliott. What do you expect from a running back? That's the running back expectancy in the NFL, right? 6 years, 8 years max, or whatever. So you got you got 5 good years out of a running back. That's what you can expect, mostly, typically. Um, Switching them out. Uh, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. Who was their best running back? Wasn't it Curtis Martin like on their first one or two Super Bowl? I'm just saying. After that, they running with Woodhead or whatever his name is,
Right,
Burkhead or whatever they, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Burkhead,
I'm just saying they running with Sony Michelle. He popped up, New England made him hot real quick, and then what happened? I mean, I'm just saying.
Damian Pierce, yeah,
I'm just saying. You start to look at the list. Remember Gurley? Todd Gurley was another one of them that I feel like hurt the modern running back market these days. I mean, when you start talking, this is what I start to see. Even us experts or whatever, when they start talking about the running backs and stuff, they don't mention nobody mentioning this stuff. Like what me and you talking about right now, as far as like the running backs that really messed up the market for running backs, nobody mentioning it. Like why are we taking quarterbacks? You getting more for your money out of the quarterbacks than the receivers these days than you do out of a running game. Running game don't put points on the board. It never has, realistically. When you look at it, running between the tackles, running up and down the field, it eats the clock or whatever. And certain running backs back in the days, they put on shows for you. They made moves or whatever, but you can't roll back the clock. Nowadays, the modern running back is different. Like you're not built to take the same amount of punishment. One, two, um, two. The game is about passing the ball.
Yeah, so I mean, and like I said, some of it I think really comes down to the team and the structure of the teams and stuff like that. Just like the other day, they talked about fullbacks. Like only a certain amount of teams have fullbacks still, in which they utilize them, and they some of them get played handsomely, and because their contribution to the team and what they need them for. The running back, i.e., the Camaras, the McCaffreys. Um, who else running backs? Those top running backs. Chubb, even though he was injured this year, he's another one of those. Saying those types. Some of those teams, organizations is going to be. Hence the reason they try to get rid of Jacobs in Oakland. I mean, in Las Vegas, and then in state. Saying they hurt him. Like he tried his hand. They didn't want to pay him. He decided they finally paid him. Decided to franchise tag him. He signed the franchise tag, but he had missed all of the spring camp, and then he never really got back to where he was the previous year. So it really, I think it's really a combination of things in some instances. Austin Eckler, he overplayed his hand. He was hot a year before,
Right.
and then he came back, and then he didn't amount to anything. He wasn't productive all year. He had the young buck that was behind him that was being more productive than him. Right now, we're looking at it in Najee Harris and Warren in Pittsburgh. Like, what I'm saying? The conversation is like, which one is more valuable? Is it a valuable 1-2 punch? How is it? Whatever the case is. At one point, San Francisco was, as we talked about earlier, they were running back by committee with the Mosserts, the Wilsons, the Bredas, who else? The Mitchell that they have here. Then they got their hands on Christian McCaffrey. Everyone else came expendable, and they only had one. Even Trey Sermon, he's out the door. Like, they don't have really anything there.
Well, take the Super Bowl winning Chiefs. What dominant running back have they had? They run by committee most of the time. You got Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire, even though Pacheco get most of the touches a lot of times, right? But I actually think Edwards-Helaire he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. Pacheco just got a motor that's different, right? Like
He runs reckless abandonment.
his effort is, his effort makes him a standout. Um, but
They
how
got
much
McKinnon.
longer? But how much longer is he gonna last with that size? Because I mean, you know what I'm saying, and putting forth that effort. How long can he put forth that effort? He already slow. You know what I'm saying?
And you're correct. And then, like, Jusic in San Francisco is exactly that. That man is going, as long as he's in the league, he's going to continue to always. He's going to continue to. He's Hall of Fame for the most part in some aspect, and then he's always going to be an All Pro or a Pro Bowl fullback, and he's just in the sweet spot at this point. So yeah, so I mean, it's definitely those things. So last but not least, in the NFL, while we're talking about it, like we said earlier, the rookie, I mean not the rookie, the combine is going on. Yesterday we seen a linebacker run a 4.3, right? We've seen a lineman run 4.4s. I think someone, a couple 4.4 or 4.5 or something like that. Is that flat line speed beneficial to the field speed? Like, you know what I'm saying? When we see this, we know they can exert themselves, but we're talking about in the end. I know for linebacker sideline to sideline, of course, that makes sense when you talk about that. But outside of that, which was Peyton Wilson, ran a 4.4 or 4.3 yesterday out of North Carolina State. Dallas Turner, the edge, run a 4.6. Kalen DeLoach out of Florida State, linebacker, ran a 4.47. Chop Robinson, who was being looked at, edge out of Penn State, 4.48. And then rounding out the top five was Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M, linebacker, ran a 4.5. As a GM, are you licking your chops at these speeds and stuff like that for in these positions?
Yeah, because that's where the game is at now. Excuse me. But that's where the game is now. Defensively, you got to be fast. The best defenses in the league are fast. They in the gaps quicker. Sideline, like you said, sideline to sideline, they lateral movement. It's ridiculous now. Like if you want to compete with the offenses, because it's a lot of screen pass, it's a lot of quick passes being thrown, so the defenses have to react quicker. Um, so I think speed helps, and also if you're an edge rusher with that kind of speed, hopefully you got the moves to match the speed, right? Because that gives you an advantage against the offensive lineman, right? Like you might be an instant double team just because of that, right? Just because of your speed. If you got a little bit of ability, I mean, it's a difference. You going up against 330 pounds. You going up against 330 pounds that's moving. You know what I'm saying? That's trying to stop you from coming full speed. It's kind of hard. So um, I think it gives you an advantage, and I think on the right teams, the right defensive schemes, all that stuff plays in, right? All that stuff will help you. It'll help you out. Um, put pressure on the quarterback and stop those teams that try to run every now and then.
So, what position group do you prefer to watch? Your favorite position group to watch in the during the combine?
For me, it's always it's always the skill positions. I like to see what the running backs do. I like to see what the receivers do, right? Like they verticals and stuff. Really, um, because those that's gonna put you on a poster. You know what I'm saying? I love defense. Don't get me wrong. Um, but as far as the combine, to me, it's like, hey, this guy got world class speed. He gonna probably, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy got this. He got a 40 something vertical. Oh, he gonna jump out of the building. I mean, like it's like Gronkowski who could stop that. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy 6'7" that could jump as high as he could jump. You know what I'm saying? Like Randy Moss. Remember Randy Moss? Man, like his height and then he can jump that high. Stop it. Like makes a whole lot of difference.
Drunk said the combine position is the DBs. Uh, really can see who about the action. So interesting, right? Thinking, especially talking about the speed. None of the people top speed like the top. If you go with the top, let's say top 6 or 7, these are the names. Of course, with the fastest being who holds the record currently, I guess you could say. John Ross with a 4.22, Kalen Barnes with a 4.23, Chris Johnson with a 4.24, DJ Turner the second with 4.26, Reek Wolin with a 4.26, and Dree Archer with a 4.26. Now, out of all those, the most recent, of course, is the DJ Turner's 4.26 in last year, cornerback out of Michigan. The oldest is Chris Johnson's 4.24. We know Chris Johnson, running back, drafted by Tennessee, and that was in 2008. Any of these people are relevant, or we don't even hear of or know of them. Does speed really make a difference, or when you're drafting in these positions, or it comes down on the individual?
It's gonna be it's individually based. Like look who names you didn't name on there. Like, where's Tyreek Hill on that list? I mean, I'm just saying. Like, do you feel what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and we know he's fast out the gate. You know what I'm saying? Where's Jalen Waddle on that list? I mean, I'm just saying. Like, some of the faster players in the league right now, not even on that list. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we saw, like, those of us that's old enough, we saw how fast Bo Jackson was. He ain't on the list. You know what I'm saying? We saw how fast Deion Sanders was. He ain't on the list. I mean, I'm just saying. So so um your speed and stuff at the combine and all that, that's cool. But we saw the players in pads that put the pads on and then boom, they were still lightning. We had an expression, what was his name back in the days? Played for the Bears. He was track star, Willie Galt. Ain't that his name? Willie Galt was a track star. You know what I'm saying?
Tim Brown,
Yeah, Tim Brown.
Harold.
But you got so what was his name? John Jett. Remember John Jett? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like John Jett, he was fast. He played for the Raiders for a short stint, but he was fast. Like I think he was like an Olympic runner or something too, Olympic sprinter or something. I'm just saying, like,
Now, Marquise Goodwin's on the list, 2013,
yeah,
4.27.
but where's he at in the league though? I mean, I'm just
That
saying.
part.
So,
Henry Ruggs,
so
4.27.
Ruggs is probably the most unfortunate, right? Of those that's named because we didn't get to see what all he could do in the pros with the incident that he got himself into. He's convicted right now, right? He's convicted.
Yes. Oh, well, he's not convicted, but he's convicted. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
he's
serving.
convicted. I think he
Yeah.
got like 12, 13 years or something.
Okay. Yeah. Unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate.
But yeah, but typically, like, who's fans? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, here's the thing. Chris Johnson, he in the NFL history books, right? Didn't he have a 2,000 yard season? Like
Yeah. Or he was pushing that. One of the two.
one of like 8 or 9 that got a 2,000 yard season or something. But and he also used to didn't he like race like didn't he like race on like years ago like on ABZ or something? Didn't he race like a Jaguar or a cheetah or something? Like like like, didn't he run against? I mean, I'm just saying, Chris Johnson he was special to watch, but you don't hear about a lot of the top players. So I don't think it really matters at the combine. We had this conversation before. I think it's all about the individual, what you gonna do when you put those pads on.
Of course, this today I think is cornerbacks. I think is going to be going through the combine. I was trying to see if I can find their time, the schedule. I think so. That is going to be up next. I think DB's corners are going to get it in on the day 2. So I guess that's going to be a spectacle. We'll be hearing more times, of course, faster times. It should be in the process. So definitely keep your watch. Yes.
I want to say before you get off the NFL, I want to say this. Remember earlier, in earlier shows that we done throughout the football season. Remember me talking all that noise about uh, uh, how I didn't think the Jets was a pretty good organization. Uh, People, if y'all haven't seen some of the clips, or y'all haven't seen it, look at McCall Hardman's take on a championship team like the Chiefs and playing for the Jets. He played for both of them this past season. So if y'all didn't see the pivot, him on the pivot or whatever, listen to what Hardman had to say, and then y'all will see exactly what I've been talking about as the people's coach. What I've been telling you, the difference between a championship team and the difference between an organization like the Jets. You know what I'm saying? Like Hardman, he summed it up perfectly. He gives you a good intake on what's a championship team and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Like my most important takeaway from what he said was hey, I was on a winning team that you know what I'm saying, like we won 2 out of 3 or whatever already when I got to the Jets. You know what I'm saying? So you can't tell me this is a winning culture. The things that he mentioned, saying the difference between a winning culture and the things that the Jets had going on. And I told y'all that they didn't have a plan outside of Aaron Rodgers gonna save us. They didn't have a plan. You know what I'm saying? You had no plan. So basically your X's and O's you didn't even think they were good enough. It was just Aaron Rodgers is going to save you, and you're not going to win games like that. That's why I told you. Remember, I said Robert Saleh is not the guy for that job. I told y'all that. And here's another a funny thing about that, Trey. I just saw an article the other day on the ESPN site where they were saying the same thing, but they had a question mark. Fire Robert Saleh. It's like I said that already. Get rid of him. It's no debate. Um, but Hardman, y'all should check that out if y'all can see some of those clips from the
Mhm.
pivot interview.
So of course, like I said, today DBs and tight ends on the combine. Tomorrow, wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks going to be going through their combine. So it starts to ramp up and get into that where you get to see more and more. And then I think offensive linemen as well is probably after that. So
The top ones have pro days, right? So we'll be looking
correct,
at some of them pro days.
yeah,
Some of them you
which
gotta wait to see on pro day.
yeah, some yes, combines and doing some pro day. So it's definitely something to check out and see. Of course, you know Caleb Williams is going to be there, so we'll see. I think I'll do a pro day instead of the combine, so I don't hurt myself
I
in many
don't know.
ways. In
I
many
think
ways,
some. I think
physically and mentally.
I don't like the pro. I don't like the pro days. This is why I don't like the pro days. You by yourself. Um, you by yourself. Um, I think if you went to the combine just the rumors are swirling around the competition. I think sometimes you play a competitive. You're in a competitive, industry. That's what you do for a living is compete. But then you don't want to compete and put your arm up against this person or put your speed up against. I mean, I just think that if you're gonna do it, forget your pro day. Go out there against, what I'm saying. Go out there against the other competition and see where you stack up.
So the round ball conversation. The hotness right now, of course, we know when we didn't even know was something in which did the league need LeBron James just 9 points, which means his next game is most likely he's going to become the first NBA player to surpass 40,000 points and continue to set the record that's probably going to be out of reach for a couple of years going forward. Now, I would say that it's going to be out of reach definitely because the way the game is now, offensively is just it's just caters to the offense for the most part. But currently, what's going on? Listening and hearing the competition committee from the NBA is they're looking at how they can add back some type of defensive efforts and to kind of like limit or deter the huge offensive output in which these teams are doing. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a little bit different when that comes. But in state, what do you think about the 40,000 mark record that is about to be eclipsed?
I mean, what more can we say about LeBron? Like, man, you've been probably the most durable superstar we ever, well, the most durable superstar we ever seen, in terms of constant effort and the output that you put it out. Like, it's unbelievable. I think it's gonna be a record. Like it took somebody 40 years almost to break Kareem's record. So I think it took him 40. So I think it's gonna be you putting up another record that's gonna probably be. I probably won't even be alive when somebody break that record. I mean, I think you putting it. I think that's a part of the LeBron James mystique though to try to put things out of reach, right? Like, um, but all that's gonna matter at the end of the day is for LeBron, all that's gonna matter at the end of the day, it ain't gonna matter how many points you got. You already in the Hall of Fame. So from here on that, it's gonna be how many rings you got. It's gonna be, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all it is, LeBron. Like haven't, and he hasn't even seen that yet. You know what I'm saying? Like the LeBron super fans and supporters, they haven't looked at the one key thing. That's the only thing that you know what I'm saying that's gonna separate you from the rest of the upper echelon. You want to be up there with Magic. You want to be up there with Kobe. You want to be up there with all this. Get a fifth ring. That's all I'm saying. Like 4 rings ain't enough, LeBron. Like, guess what? You can have all the other stats. You can have them all.
So this is why I have to say
4 rings.
I have to say this, right? Per a discussion in which we've had before on here, in which you was like remiss about my comments in reference to ship LeBron off. We could do without him. LeBron in the last 2 days has changed that narrative in a degree because we needed that LeBron to get a victory versus a Clippers team, although they were without Zubac and although they was out playoff P and Paul George PG. LeBron's performance on Tuesday night showed what she was like on Wednesday night. Wednesday night showed like, hey, he's still that dude, helping us helping the Lakers come back from a 21-point deficit in the fourth or late third, going into the fourth to win the game and send the Clippers on about their way. See you next year in the Intuit Dome. You know what I'm saying? Unless they face off in the playoffs, if both teams make it. Like I had to give him his props. Like he put it on his shoulders and went ahead and take it. And then of course last night against the Washington Wizards last night, in which I also thought about, Kyle Kuzma is showing out. Like he's looking like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got rid of me. And that was like the energy he was on, as well as Rui Hachimura on the opposite side of the spectrum. But definitely, you know what I'm saying, I seen LeBron James stand on business definitely these last 2 nights, in which is like, where would they be at this particular instance if he not have been there? So I had to basically walk it back in a sense, because he definitely, to where it's like, okay, 40,000, 9 points. I thought he was gonna get it last night potentially, but he didn't. He didn't continue to push the line on that part. They kept giving him the ball, but he was finding other people. in state, in which I think actually in all actuality, I think Anthony Davis was the high man last night with 40 points, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. One steal, 3 blocks. LeBron finished 31 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. D'Angelo Russell, 22 points, 6 steals, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Austin Reeves was 12.6 rebounds, 4 assists. And then Rui Hachimura with 8 points last night. Contribution off the bench, Spencer Dinwiddie with 10 points. 5 of the Washington players were 20 points or more in state last night. Jordan Poole had 34 points. Marvin Bagley the third had 23 points, 20 points from Kyle Kuzma, 15 points from Avadaja or Diva, and 20 points from Corey Kispert. But that's where it kind of ended at. No one else, but it kept them in the race. It ended at that point. But I mean, shots out. Saying hats off to Washington. They made it. They made it interesting. Second game in a row, LA was in overtime. In respective back-to-back games, overtime. It just happened they were at home as opposed to on the road. Well, technically, they was on a road last game because it was the Clippers' home game, but they were in their home arena. So what I'm saying, it's up from there. So it goes back to what you were saying. I was like, maybe we might have something. Maybe this is the ramp up. The ramp up now. We're gonna see a different Lakers team as they start to get some of the players back.
It's something that while we sitting here talking that I've been thinking about as far as the Western Conference. Um,
Watch.
um, 1 through 8. Once they got to the final 8, um, the thing is, first round, some contenders going home early. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I saw the standings last night, and I was like, well, the top 10. Man, the play-in games are gonna be ridiculous in the way, because a potential contender going home. Then I mean, it's starting in the play-in on the western side, so it's gonna be tough. And right now, you're looking at the Lakers. Here's the funny thing: the Lakers and the Warriors are at the bottom of that, right? Right
Josh,
now,
yeah.
right now they're at the bottom of that. So, and look how far the Kings. What happened to the Kings? What happened to Sacramento? Like you blink and the Kings are down there now. They're not up where they were before,
Seven,
right?
yeah, they in the top. They number sitting at number 7. I'm number 8. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
number 8.
that's what I'm saying. Like the Kings fell along. So, but just
It's
because of the
it's,
veteran,
it's
the
rough in the
veteran
West.
experience of the Lakers, they're gonna be fine. That's what I'm saying. Like with the Warriors and the Lakers playing so low, and then you got all these other teams. I hope these younger teams understand the magnitude, and understand things and come in with a different mindset and come to play the OKCs and the Minnesota. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves they looking at an upset in the first round potentially. Like you be the first overall seed, and then you going home because you ended up against the Warriors or the Lakers in the first round. The more experienced teams. I mean, you go home first round. Like you can make it a 7-game series. You still going home early, right? Like that's the potential of what you could see right now. The top 2 seeds could be if it's the Lakers 8 and the Warriors 7, or vice versa. Then those 2 top teams could be going home, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I saw the 4th seed was the Clippers. Look at this. The 4th seed was the Clippers. I think the 5th seed is the Suns, right? If that's
Correct.
the first, if that's the first round matchup, then Vegas, Vegas early on had Phoenix winning it all. So look at the potential. One of those 2 teams predicted to be in the championship, to be in the final, are going home right away in the first round if it stays the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot
And
of that.
like you said, it's looking tough. Speaking of Golden State yesterday, I mean speaking of Golden State, last night they faced off. They were playing against a hobbled, unfortunately, New York Knicks team in Madison Square Garden, to where Steph Curry put up 31 points off of 11 to 26 shooting. He was 8 for 18 from 3-point. So knocking them down, hitting clutch at the right point at the right time. 25 points from Jonathan Kuminga, who is starting to assert himself, which is, saying it seems like the slow development or the late development is starting to help out. Hitting at the right time. Chris Paul back in action. He dropped 11 points and six assists. I'm sorry. 16 points from Klay Thompson. And then respectively Moody and Green 7 and 8 points apiece. Of course, for New York, Jalen Brunson 27 points on the night, 16 points from DiVincenzo, 14 points from Josh Hart, 10 points from Sims, and McBride contributed with 14. But instead, like I said, they was hobbled, took an L, losing 11 points, 99 to 110. Waiting for Randall to come back. It's probably going to be. I'm not going to say they're going to be out of the playoffs by that time frame, but it's definitely not looking too well for the most part. Going back into what you was just talking about in the standings, Golden State currently at the 10th spot, like you said, even with the dub last night because the Lakers won to put them back ahead of them. Currently up ahead by just a half a game, but in-state is 3 games separate 10 through 6. That's very surmountable. Like 3 games, and New Orleans being the 6th seed right now. And then in-state, when you think about it, it's only 10 and a half games that separate the rest of the field. But
the Mavericks,
yeah,
Mavericks are, like the Mavericks starting to play better basketball, even though, like it's gonna
they're a
be
half
tough.
game on the 6th spot.
It's gonna be tough.
It's real tough.
At any moment, like one loss or two losses in the West is, man, especially when it starts getting tighter, it's gonna be hard. Like it's gonna be hard to say what teams are gonna stack out where. I think it's gonna come down to like in the West, it's gonna come down to like the final couple of weeks of the season to decide the whole playoff pecking order to see where everybody's at because one is only up by like a game or so. Like it's, I think it's like 3 or 4 games separating 1 through 4 or something. You know what I'm saying? 7 games separating 1 through 5 or something like that in the West.
7.5, 1 through 7 games 1 through 5. 1 through 4 is 4 games. So yeah, 10 games 1 through 10. So it's tough sledding out there. All it takes is a quick streak, or a couple put together string a couple of wins together, and you will see a whole different outlook of what the team should be.
And the East not that bad. Like, but we already know the indicators of the East. I'm only looking at 3 teams in the East right now. Uh, four if you throw in the Cavaliers, right? But right now, the East is out of somewhere. From what I saw last night, even in a loss last night, I was like, the Heat are, man, like that defense in the playoff situation. That defense is, oh boy, you got to make some shots against the Heat. Definitely, as the Nuggets. Um, the Heat was down the whole game, but they still made it. They were still able to make it a game, and they chip away that defense. If you got good defense, you just keep playing it consistently throughout the whole game, and then you see. But the Celtics, of course, they got a shot. Um, for them, it's about can they get over the hump in the playoffs. And then I still see Milwaukee. They starting to play better with Doc Rivers leading them. But I picked them. Remember, I picked them early on, and I'm gonna stick with Giannis. I think Giannis. So that's 3, and like I said, the Cavaliers maybe 4th. I had the Knicks up there, but then the Knicks injuries have taken the Knicks out of the picture for me. Bronson plays, man. Bronson plays exceptionally well. I like Josh Hart. Josh Hart has matured into a better player than he was. You know what I'm saying? Like he a good veteran, a solid veteran who I feel like on another team he could be a championship role player on another team.
I think him getting back together with his crew from uh, Villanova has been helpful with him, DiVincenzo and Bronson. So that's beneficial to him. They have that to go for. So I think
And
he might like.
DiVincenzo is overrated. I'm starting to see. Excuse me. I'm starting to see why he gets traded a lot. He's overrated.
You
I'm
think
starting to
so?
see why he. That's why he a journeyman. He's overrated. like in that game, he had several chances that he could have made an impact to change the game around. It's like, yo, you missing layups. Yo, you miss, you get more. He needs to get more consistent on a nightly basis. We got to see a better effort. I see why the Warriors. I see why he's not on the Warriors anymore. I see why he's not on the Bucks anymore. I see why he's not on those championship squads anymore. It's like the guy doesn't play. He's not a championship role player. DiVincenzo. Um, man, it's like, where's your effort? He gets discouraged. I watched him in the game last night. Just get discouraged because he missed a couple of shots. Man, I can't have you hanging your head because you missed some shots. I'm gonna need you to keep bringing that energy and keep playing.
So, what was probably, as we started off talking about it in the beginning, what was probably one of the top games or most interesting games last night, that Oklahoma City Thunder game versus the San Antonio Spurs, that pitted, uh, if not two of the best rookies this year, two of the tallest rookies this year, Victor Wembanyama as well as Chet Holmgren against each other for the third time this season, in which it wasn't a disappointment. Victor Wembanyama with the dub, 132 to 118, scoring 28 points, 10 rebounds. 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 5 blocks on the night. Of course, Chet Holmgren on the opposite side, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block. So Wembanyama bested Chet last night, but are we still saying that Wembanyama is the rookie of the year, or is Chet there? I know the numbers speak differently, but what's your opinion? Your eye test.
It's Wembanyama and it's not gonna even be close. Wembanyama gonna win unanimous this season, rookie of the year. It's not gonna even be close. Did you see that block?
Head up.
Like Chet, Chet was playing some ball, but then when it counted the most, yeah, no, Chet, you can't even get your shot off. Like Wembanyama, like he's just too big, too agile, man. His versatility, his movement. I think if he gains about 10 pounds, you in trouble.
I mean, what more can you say? Of course, when you look at it. So okay, going back to this, right? You you have always said that you believe Chet should not be classified as a rookie due to the fact that he has been in the league over a year at this point, and he just didn't play in his first year. He shouldn't be classified as a rookie because he still worked out and trained with his team and all that type of stuff. But Victor Wembanyama outplayed him this game. I think 2 out of the 3 games Victor Wembanyama has outplayed him. Does that really make a difference when you take in consideration those who didn't get a chance to play, i.e., the Blake Griffins, Joel Embiid, and stuff like that, when it comes down to that season?
Yeah, for me, it's like it's nothing I can do about the rules. If that's your rule, that's your rule. But it kind of takes away the whole rookie thing. It's like they don't just call us like when college teams redshirt a freshman, they don't call him a freshman again the next year, right? They call him a redshirt freshman. So we
Right.
know, you know what I'm saying. So we know he basically on his sophomore year of college, but you know what I'm saying. But on the field or on the court, you know what I'm saying, he was held back a year. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like we know that they saved him for. We in the pros, it's kind of cheesy to me that you would let a guy who has an advantage over all the other rookies still be called a rookie just because they didn't physically play, but you took advantage of all the facilities and you got well by using you know what I'm saying, by using those pro trainers, by all that. I mean, the advantages are there. So, but I just think Wembanyama, what I'm seeing, I'm not saying that he's way better than Chet, but I think he's gonna be a better player than Chet. I think Chet may be more meaningful right now. Uh, Chet gonna be more meaningful right now because he on a team that got a chance to win. You know what I'm saying? Like OKC trying to win now, well, within the next couple of years or so. So I think Chet fits like as long as he stick with his role, he gonna be good on that team specifically. I think Wembanyama, they got to get a team around him, and they got to do it they got to do it now. Like if you the Spurs, you got to capitalize on this young man before everybody catch up with him.
Of course, last night, Thomas Bryant, currently suspended, plays on the Miami Heat team, which you just discussed and talked about, was able to receive his NBA championship ring from the organization, being that he was already shipped out in Miami when they were presented their ring, but because they knew he was coming at some point, they went ahead and decided to give him his ring on this night. Now, usually because he's suspended, he shouldn't have been at the game, but the NBA went ahead and afforded him the opportunity so he could receive his ring, since it was already put in place at the beginning of the season that he would receive his ring during this night. So sitting there, right, two teams that played one another in the NBA championship the previous year, and now one of their players is now one of your players. If you're in that locker room as a player, how are you feeling when you look and see him receive his ring on this night? Are you like, bro, you could have waited, you know what I'm saying, or we could have did it? Like, nah, don't set that right now, especially when you do. What's the mindset with going in as that player?
You had a whole ceremony to get yours, so why are you hating on the next man? Like he was a part of the team. Like so, just deal with that, right? Like you looking at a league, man. I think what was his name? Remember the little guy Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah.
I think he played a few years in Boston. And remember, he came back to Boston. They did a whole video show of like he was like this great Celtic. You know what I'm saying?
They
That's where
honored him.
we at nowadays. So get a man his ring. The man earned his ring. He was on that team. Like what does it matter when he got it? Like he didn't get it when you did your ceremony.
So I guess when you look at it, I mean, I get it. I think in which you said it like that because they did a whole show for him. I mean, they did a whole tribute and everything like that. So you know, saying much respect, of course. And then he had to leave the gym. I mean, the stadium because he was suspended. But I was looking at maybe in the other instances what I had asked for my ring to just be sent to me. I don't want any of all that. Just send me my ring. You ain't got to present it to me because now I'm playing on the team in which we defeated the previous year. I don't want any issues or problems. I don't want to be looked at a certain way. Just saying I can saying respect it all. But then again, does it start to become like the situation with Terrell Owens accepting not being in the Hall of Fame to accept his jacket and being somewhere else and doing it different? Like, does that start to stand and be like those type of vibes? And will it be frowned upon, or like what's your in that instance?
Man, you got to get yours. Like the guy, like I said, he earned it. If anything, his current teammates should be like, "Wow, I want one of those." You know what I'm saying? Like his current teammates should be like, "The guy got." I mean, think about it. So what? He was suspended. That's got nothing to do with what he did last year, right? So it's two different things. I think in my mind, it's like show up, get what's yours, and then let's move on. You talking about the same Miami Heat? They just hung up Udonis Haslam. You know, I mean, we talk about that same squad. They just hung up Udonis Haslam's jersey. No knock against Udonis Haslam. Just saying. Um, so yeah, and it's like I think what it shows is if you want to be a part of so quote unquote Heat culture, I think a guy getting a ring. I know if I was on the team with him and he getting a ring, and the rest of us ain't got no rings, then that should be right then and there. Our cry is now we all want one of these. You know what I'm saying? Like we all want this moment. We all want this moment. I mean, that's what it's for. So hats off to him for getting it, even though he wasn't that significant, right?
It wasn't that part. You know what I'm saying? What's up, CPA? Salute to you, bro. Get your bars up, media. What's going on, fam? Glad to have information on this morning. So yeah, and true that part. Like you wasn't that significant. Like at that point, you was on the bench. You know what I'm saying? You played backup. The significance, like that part, like without a doubt, I'm like no different from the year Anderson Varejao played with the Lakers, or played with not Lakers, played with Golden State and played with Cleveland. So no matter what, no matter who won, he was going to get a ring. in the public eye, I'm gonna be like, no, I don't want that. But the whole time I'm behind there, like, yo, you take this address. You know what I'm saying? Send it. So it's like in those situations. Or I think it was a player too that played with LA when they got their ring, but they had been in Miami, so they had the opportunity again. They had the opportunity, like, okay, like I'm going to get the ring no matter what. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this ring. So I mean, it just comes down to that type of stuff where you be like, But I mean, in this instance, it was him.
Hey, Jordan Farmar a champion.
Yes, Jordan Farmar is.
Jordan Farmar is a champion, right? I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure. You know what I'm saying? I'm clearing on some, like,
Jordan Farmar deserved his championship.
but he wasn't even on the team the next season, though, right?
Correct.
That's what I was saying. Like he won, they won the championship, and then he wasn't on the team the next. I mean, it's those you get those scenarios where you move on, no matter how significant or insignificant you were. I compare it to like you got me thinking. I compare it to the thing that needs to stop, right? Um, I got no problem with you getting your ring on a certain night, even if you suspend it. However, I do have a problem with the Grant Williamses and all these people that with this unwritten rule of don't score points when the clock running out if you up by a big lead or whatever. I'm gonna score. You wanna know why? Because I've been crushing you all game long, and you can't stop me. Like, why are you getting so mad? Like, get rid of that unwritten rule. Stop getting mad over the silliest things. It's not a disrespect of sportsmanship. Guess what? This guy's an individual, right? This person that's scoring this basket. I'm trying to get my names in the stat sheet. I mean, that's all it is. And Grant Williams been a player that has started and been a player that came off the bench. He should know the differences. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? You've been there. This might be the only chance these guys get to show their stuff sometimes. So what's the big deal about somebody scoring? And that shouldn't lead to a fight. I mean, it should be you didn't just dribble the clock out. It's like, hey, I'm trying to get a basket to get my name in the stat sheet.
And then of course it's the same knowing the situation because in-state was the situation was they had just took a turnover the previous play and they was looking at taking another one potentially, so they went ahead and was going to shoot the ball, you know what I'm saying? So it all comes out, but like you said, true enough, like in-state is I if given the opportunity I'm scoring too, you know what I'm saying? We'll let it lie where it lay.
I mean, I'm just saying, like some of these guys only play it in garbage time. What you supposed to do? You a hooper. You're not supposed to hoop when you're on the court. So that's why I don't understand the logic. Like why are you so mad because somebody? In football, we saw the same thing, right? Uh, the only thing I say, the only difference is don't come at me if you're gonna score, score. Don't come at me pretending you're gonna take a knee. That's kind of shady, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we talking basketball. I can see if the guy was just standing there dribbling the clock out and then decided, oh, at the last second I'm gonna go. No, they was going the whole time. like we're gonna put this in the we gonna score on this end, whether you like it or not. So my point is, why you want to fight over that? Like, why you risk suspension and all that over something that silly when it's like, yeah, you got your behind kick. That's not the other team's fault. That's your fault. Like, so deal with it.
So the funny thing, right? With a few minutes into the second, I mean, not second, in the first quarter yesterday, not yesterday, day before yesterday, Dennis Antetokounmpo took up his second technical foul for talking on the bench in his second game, consistent game. So I don't understand it. Of course, or how do you even do this or put yourself in the position, especially when you're not getting any burn on the side of on the floor. And then Doc, you can see Doc was like just shaking his head, looking up in the air, like, "Yo, how does it? Is Stannis going next year?"
He should have been gone. Um, it's like you said, you ain't getting no burn, and you costing the team. Back in the days, that would have been detrimental to the team or whatever, conduct detrimental to the team. Like, probably face some fines and some suspensions there. Um, you know, but I don't know.
Excuse me.
Um, I don't know about. I was reading that comment right there, but sorry, but it's like we already know that the Antetokounmpo brothers ain't nothing like Giannis, and they ain't getting, you know, like you just on the team because your brother is the superstar on the team. So it's like, don't disrespect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't disrespect. Be happy to be here. You should not be getting technical fouls if you're not
Bench, yeah. So, did you see this? Had you heard anything about that? The
the
competitive
corner
rule.
three. I really haven't heard much about that,
I
but
didn't either.
you can't get rid of the corner three. Like, what would be the point? Like the games are already competitive. It's not like the corner three is killing you. You know, I could show you game after game yesterday where the corner three wasn't falling for a lot of people, including what was his name? Terry. Ask Terry Rozier that question. Ask Rozier that question. You know, I mean, I'm just saying. Like, nah, I don't think you need to make any changes to the NBA from that perspective. I think the only change you need to make is let them hand check a little bit. I mean, I'm just saying, like, let's get some defense, some competitive defense a little bit. Let them hand check. I mean, let's not go back to all full blown physical. I ain't talking about clotheslining dudes or that old rule where no dunks down the lane and they was trying to hurt you and stuff like. Because you can tell all the lies you want. Back in the day, some of them dudes were trying to hurt people. The Bill Lambiers of the world, the Kevin McHale's, it was certain people trying to hurt people back in the days, and they can lie and say, "Oh, it was a competitive edge," but no, we saw the footage. The bad boy Pistons, y'all trying to take people out. Like for real. You trying to take people out. So let's stop with that lying stuff. And that's what the game needed to change a little bit because um, we saw the physicality of things like the Charles Oakleys and stuff. When they got to a certain point, they was trying to hurt you. They wasn't trying to play no drawing basketball. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Um, don't bring that aspect back, but bring back some competitive. Like let them hand check a little bit. I think the hand checks make a little bit of difference. The shooting's still going to be outrageous, but you got to let them play somewhat physical. I think just bringing back the hand checks will make a difference in some of the defense.
The hand check definitely. Tonight, battle of possible um, two battles on two different fronts. One, the Boston Celtics, number one in the East, will be taking on the seventh seeded currently Dallas Mavericks. But what also comes in that play has some of the top two probably vote getters in reference to this year's MVP award in Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. Just off the eye test alone, what are you looking at for MVP? Who would you give it to if you were a writer?
Tatum right now should be hands down MVP. They don't just they only lost like 12 games or something, and they crushing the competition by far above the competition. I think the best like he the best player on the best team. So
Mm-hmm.
I look at that. Luca, like you said, they seven seed. That's play in position. That's not. I mean, like I don't know. I don't know if I would reward that. You in play in position, and then you MVP of the league. I don't know if I can support that.
But they're still in the playoffs. Technically, you're still in the playoffs. So that works.
No, you are in the play in. You got to play into the playoffs. You are not in the playoffs. You in the play into the playoffs. So yeah, I think just by positioning alone, we already know that the front runner for me would have been Embiid if he wouldn't have got injured.
Mm. In which
Back
he
to back for Embiid probably.
yeah, he's looking his expectations that he's going to make it back and be back to play for his team, regardless of what their record is. He wants to come back and play in the playoffs. So we'll see that potentially. But before we get out of here, what did you think about the other night? As we know, Kimball Walker plays overseas, in which he dropped 92 points, 6 assists in his game. 92 points.
That's like those monster numbers that Dwight was putting up in Taiwan or whatever, Thailand or wherever you were. That's, it means nothing. Like it's a good feat to have or something. I mean, you almost scored 100 points in the game, but that's more like your level of competition ain't the same. So, no, if you did it against, what made Kobe's 81 so great is that he did it in a modern time against the competition. The best in the world. So I think if you ain't playing against the best in the world, 92 points, uh, good for you, Kimber. Like you couldn't do that over here in the NBA. Couldn't do it in the NBA. Bet you can't do it in the NBA. Just saying.
Well, not too many people, in which they keep on talking about. Everyone keeps on talking about the fact that Will Chamberlain didn't have there was no footage to back up his 100-point confirmation. But
regardless, Wilt is in the record books. Wilt did it in a game. And I'm always gonna say the same thing about that Will Chamberlain thing. I think his teammates only scored like 1 point. Something. He scored like 100. They had like 101 points. You mean to tell me your teammates couldn't give you 2 buckets or a bucket at all? They gave you one free throw. I don't even understand.
so, in any case, that'll be a show for today. Greatly appreciate those that tapped in. Drunk, always glad to have you on. AJ, of course, saying great insight. Conversations, of course, more to come as we get through this weekend. As we know, the combine is going to continue on today with more of the skill players and with the DBs and tight ends tomorrow, quarterback, wide receivers, and running backs, and then the big guys later on before as we get back into a Monday. On Monday, we'll be having a couple of coaches back on to conversate and talk about the coaches poll, as we have dubbed it. They'll be talking about giving their perspective of their top 15. As we know, a couple of the National Military Basketball Tournament rankings have came out in the last couple of weeks since the Capital Classic and the Chris Crawford Classic that took place a couple of weeks ago. So that's more as you get closer and closer to the National Military Basketball Tournament weekend at the end of April, I believe it is. So that's getting closer and closer as those games, as we're getting closer and closer to having the conference championships going on. So it's starting to amp up a little bit the military basketball. Of course, we know Memorial Day weekend will be the NBA's championship weekend. As you know, they're going to be streamed on they're going to be seen on CBS Sports with their connection. So a lot of the things going on, especially when it comes to that stuff, military basketball. So it's always a whole vibe. Before we get out of there, any last words, Coach?
Look forward to the basketball games this weekend. Also looking forward to baseball. It's spring training. Oh, Tiny baby. Oh, Tiny. He healed quick from his injury. That's all I got for y'all. He healed quick. Like he healed quick from his injury. He patched up quick like Mike Epps and Shannon Sharp over there with that Tony Beef stuff. Like we about to. I
I mean,
guarantee. Hey, I'm gonna leave y'all on this note. I
I guess
guarantee
it's
you.
marriage does.
Mike Epps was feeling so gangster up until he saw Shannon Sharp's size, and then he was like, "All love, all love, cuz." You know what I'm saying? Because he saw like Shannon Sharp is not a small person to be talking that noise to. I don't care what you say. Um, so shout out to Mike Epps and Shannon Sharp for keeping it classy at the. That was what the All Star weekend, and
All-Star
you know
weekend, yeah.
they didn't rumble like they was promising. Well, no, I'm gonna pull up and all this. They pulled up and they pulled back. So shout out to them.
So in case we look forward to see y'all, of course, next week as we get back into it. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Get out there. It's Friday. You know what to do. And talk to y'all later.